Today on Prisoners of Rock and Roll, we're taking our musical memory machine back to 1993 to look at the songs and the albums that turned 30 this year. It was a solid year for rock and roll, with verses from Pearl Jam, In Utero from Nirvana, and Siamese Dream from Smashing Pumpkins. Debut albums from the Counting Crows, the Cranberries, Bjork, Tool, Collective Soul, Candlebox, Lenny Kravitz, Snoop Dogg, and the Wu-Tang Clan. We got a lot of great music to talk about in this one, and some not so good tunes too. So let's get rolling. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Prisoners of Rock and Roll, episode number 57. My name is Bruce Kramer, and I'm so happy to be here tonight talking about the music in 1993 with my good friend and co-host, Ryan McCusker.
Are you rocking?
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, and our show is sponsored by Boldfoot Socks and McCusker's Tavern in Philadelphia at 17th and Shunk Streets, which is also the home to watch the Super Bowl.
Yes, it's the place to watch the Super Bowl.
Dude, we are spoiled this year with the sports, man, between the Phillies going to the World Series and the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl. So,
oh, dude, it's a bar owner's dream come true, especially in Philadelphia, man. Holy shit. Our teams suck all the time, you know? And both the blam, we're in the World Series and the Super Bowl.
I saw you say on Facebook, people were calling the bar asking about like reservations for the Super Bowl.
That's stupid, ridiculous. You know, like people calling to make reservations at McCusker's. Come on. First come, first served. Thank you.
The white glove concierge will show you to your seat, sir.
I was like, cash only, ATM on present, no tabs. Let's go.
Well, I hope it's really busy there for it, man. It should be a good time. I'm looking forward to the game.
I think it's going to be slamming, bro. I think we're in for a good time.
We get more mileage out of the episode we did on the ultimate concerts, the ultimate songs to listen to at a sporting event.
Yeah, I mean, go back and listen to that one. All those songs will get you pumped up.
We did it back in the fall for the Phillies, and then lo and behold, get to use it again. I'll have to share it on our social media to try to get some more mileage out of that. So
that was a fun one.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. The head honcho for Pantheon, Peter, actually flew out. He lives in California, but he's from Philadelphia, and he flew out here for the game on Sunday. So,
oh wow!
I was trying to meet up with him to grab lunch or a beer or something, but it just didn't work out. But told him next time, man, we'll get him down to McCuskers. So
that'd be awesome.
It'd be a good time. But tonight, we're doing our annual thing where we take a look at the music that turns 30 years old in 2023. We started that when we did 1991, and we talked about how 1991 was the greatest year in rock and roll history. And then we did last year 92, and this year we're doing 1993.
93 is killer, dude.
I enjoyed doing this so much, man. We're the same age. I'm a couple months older than you, but 1993, junior year of high school, started to become a senior. It's when I started working at Sam Goody, my senior year of high school. So a lot of this music is stuff that I first heard working in the music store. And so much of this stuff was like albums that I haven't listened to in a really long time. But I was so enjoying going back and listening to this stuff again.
I was listening to this stuff all week. I was back at my mother's house doing some things for her. And I was listening to our playlist and 1993 playlist on Spotify, and all the songs like came back to me, and I'm listening to it in my old room. And I was like, wow, this is really trippy. Like I'm in a time machine, you know, it's like you don't listen to songs in a long time, and you do. And the memories come popping back.
you definitely, there's songs that you just associate with just a place or a thing, and you hear it and you're automatically right back there.
That's the great thing about music. It's it's like a picture book, but the picture book's in your head.
Well said. And it's like I kind of said in the beginning, in the monologue, like the musical memory machine, because you're right. It's like you're taking a trip back to those days, and you just associate songs with memories. Really cool.
Yeah. That's the great thing about music, bro.
And we have a shit ton of stuff to talk about.
Oh my God.
But I sent
so
you the
diverse,
outline.
Man.
Like I sent you the outline and you were like, oh my God.
Yeah. Like just the list of bands and albums and really bad songs on the list. You really did your homework on this one.
The electric chairs, we're going to need one of those like prize wheels we spin to find the song. There's so much stuff. And I put something on Facebook like, hey, this is what we're doing this week, and I'm enjoying listening to this stuff. And then all my buddies it just blew up in this big conversation about, you got to talk about this and this album. Oh my God, I remember this and that. And it was really, really cool. I was really enjoying it.
Everybody in around the 46, 47, 48 age group can definitely identify with this year of music, and maybe, will hopefully bring some really good memories back to our listeners.
For me, starting to work in a music store just really expanded my music taste. Like I was always into rock and roll, just the Chili Peppers and Metallica and shit like that. But starting to work in the music store, there's a couple albums that are going to come up in this that I really, really like that are not rock and roll. Yeah, sure. And just being around it all the time just really opened my mind. And this is the year I probably became a real music nut. I started working at Sam Goody because some of my track buddies from high school did it. And I'm like, yeah, I need a job. Sure. But yeah, it just opened my mind to all kinds of cool shit. So
this was before I met you.
In a couple of years.
Yeah, dude. In 93, I think I was working at Pep Boys, and I didn't meet you till later on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably, I want to say like 96. We met working at Blockbuster Music together. And then at Sam Goody together. So when Blockbuster Music closed, I went back to Sam Goody.
And I followed you there.
And you followed me over there, man.
I'm dedicated.
And then here we are, 30 years later, still going down the road. So
unreal.
All right, man. Let's just start diving into this grunge stuff. The two really big grunge albums that came out in 93 were Pearl Jam Versus and In Utero from Nirvana. And let's start with Pearl Jam, dude. This was a great, like the Versus album, dude.
So, and it was so different than 10. It was more earthy. They were real experimental on it, I think.
I hadn't listened to this album in a really long time.
It's one of my favorite, man. They're like, just, we opened the show with Animal, and I remember them coming out and making that a single, and that was like, they didn't even make a video for that shit.
This was the year that they stopped making videos because they were and they started doing less interviews and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah. Remember, it was really hard to go see them in concert. We could talk about Ticketmaster. We could do our own show on Ticketmaster.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Put it on the list.
This is how
dude.
we come up with shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were trying to sue Ticketmaster or whatever, and they failed, and then they sold out and bought in.
In terms of like this album in 10 is like, I mean, following up a huge debut album with another really solid album. It's like not a lot of bands come out with like two albums in a row. Like their first two albums are just the guys over at the Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll. It's two guys on they're on the Pantheon Network, and it's the two Philadelphia rock and roll DJs. They did a whole show on bands that their first two albums are great. Wow. And I don't remember if they had Pearl Jam on there. They had Stone Temple Pilots, but I don't remember if they had Pearl Jam or not. I'll have to go back and listen to it.
STP can't touch Pearl Jam, dude.
No, of course not. But their first two albums are great too. But Pearl Jam's in a whole nother class. But
what was the other one we're going to talk about? Nirvana, Utero.
Yeah.
I never got into this album.
I didn't either. I like it. I don't sit down and listen to it very much.
I was never a big Nirvana fan.
You've said that
these
before.
Days. Yeah, they were it was too much of a bummer for me. You know, it was
I get that.
This is when like the metal meltdown was going on. Like Motley Crue wasn't cool anymore. You know, all that shit was like, you know, you had Guns N' Roses around, but they were about it, like left over from that scene, that Sunset Strip scene, you know?
This was also, yeah, I get it. And they, a lot of the grunge stuff too, man, was songs about drug abuse and
suicide and shit.
Yeah, it did get a lot more serious coming off of the hair metal scene of the 80s. But this album was their last studio album. You know, they cranked it out in just like 2 weeks.
Unreal.
And it does kind of have that little, they do have that kind of punk, unpolished sound to them.
I think that's a big part of their sound is rawness.
Yeah. You had Rape Me on here from Nirvana. Let's play a little bit of that.
Rape me, my friend. Rape me again. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
He's such a tragic figure, man, because he wound up becoming the voice of a generation, and he didn't want to be.
No, I mean, that song is really controversial. Or just,
yes,
you know, holy shit, he's saying "rape me," but I, you know, artistically, I think he's talking about the record companies and shit like that are taking his art and something that he ultimately didn't want to do, but everybody kind of made him do it. You know, and he's just like, all right, motherfuckers, you want some songs? Here's a fucking song. That's just what I see anyway.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know, man. As I get older, I find him to be a very tragic figure, that he was kind
absolutely
of thrust into fame and never really liked it. And then of course he committed suicide over it. So
awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
And especially too, man. I mean, he died 94. So, but this was just, that's the moment of rock and roll that everybody our age, like, you remember when you heard that.
Yeah, it changed everything,
because that song just changed everything. That song just changed music. And then when he died, I mean, that's Elvis. That's,
oh yeah, and he's in the 27 Club. That it's even,
yes,
which is ridiculous anyway, to have a club, 27 Club. I think he's the voice of the generation, but he, like you said, he couldn't deal with it. He was never the voice of me. Like I never got down with any of his music until years and years and years later that I can appreciate the Nirvana music.
I mean, just the way you've talked about it though, like I don't, you get it. You understand what they meant. You're just kind of like, yeah, it's just not my thing. So that's fine, man. That's a great thing of rock and roll, is you like what you like.
Yeah. And I was real into technical shit, and obviously they weren't that technical.
Sure.
But then again, it's like, by the time this fucking album came out, all the meatheads were listening to Nirvana and having the Nirvana t-shirts on. That made me sick to my stomach. Here's a fucking my generation of meatheads praising like fucking Nirvana. Like, come on. That's what, that whole first record is about, like, of them becoming that. And that's what they were at the end.
They did ultimately get swallowed up by the fame that they created around them. Okay, let's just keep rolling, man. There's so many albums on this list. The next one I put up here was alternative music. And this was kind of like, I don't know. I was like, I don't even know what the hell alternative is, but I put on the alternative station on Sirius and a lot of this stuff comes up. So I was like, all right. The first album that I put on that in this list was Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins. Some people argue that they're a grunge band. I don't think they are. I don't even know what the hell. You don't think
they're a grunge band?
I don't know, man. They're like, do you? I think they're like
totally.
They sound they're different.
they're not, or they're definitely a rock and roll band per se, you know.
Yeah.
But like they have definitely a deeper sound than a regular rock and roll band does. You know, their songs are like more mystical than rock and roll songs.
They're not as like sludgy as some of the other, like, you know, Alice in Chains or some of the Stone Temple Pilots or bands like that.
Yeah, I mean, they have some upbeat songs. Like they were big with Today. That was a big fucking song. I didn't want to. What did I put on our playlist? I didn't put Today on there because that song sucks.
Cherub Rock, I'll play right now.
Yeah, right on. Great song.
I'm not the biggest fan of theirs. I do like that song though.
Yeah, that's why I picked that one, because I think it's underrated. Maybe our listeners don't know it.
I was reading a little bit too of how dysfunctional they were when they were recording this. So James Iha and Darcy had been dating and they broke up. Jimmy Chamberlain was doing drugs out the ass. And Billy Corgan, who's always kind of struggled with depression, he had a nervous breakdown while he was recording it because this was their major label debut. So they were under a lot of pressure to hit something. And they were working with who produces Butch Vig, who did Nevermind, was producing one. So he's great. Yeah. And he's also in Garbage.
Yes.
But they had a ton of pressure on them. And it's a great album, man. It was huge. It was a smash.
Yeah.
I think this is before they got a little too pretentious for me, or Billy Corgan did.
I don't think they're a grunge band. I think they're an alternative band.
I think so too.
You know, it definitely has a grunge tone, but they're definitely, I don't know. They're, like you said, it has more rock and roll to it.
There's like a bigger, like the sound is it's bigger and not as crunchy. It's like the guitars were like fuzzier than some of the other grunge stuff, but
it just like the over layers of his voice vocally, you know, if you really listen to it, you know, he's another dude. I mean, he learned from the best how to produce music. You know, like
they're just coming out with like a 3-part album this year that I think is a follow-up to one of the other, it might have been a follow-up to Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, like a rock opera.
I couldn't get into Melancholy, bro.
No, that's when they got too much for me.
Yeah.
It just got really, I don't know.
Played out and shit. Good for them. Good for them, you know.
He got too artsy for me, some of his stuff. And then when they broke up and he was kind of saying like, well, we're breaking up because nobody will understand our music. And I was like, well, no, maybe, you know, I don't know. I'm not down with that kind of stuff. He's kind of
full of himself, but he'd be friends of the show. So I never.
He is personal friends with the Blue Meanie, who is a friend of the show. So, you know, we don't trash him too hard. All right, we'll keep on rolling. Darcy from Smashing Pumpkins was hot too.
Oh yeah, she was definitely hotter than the chick in White Zombie.
And she also she's very like her drug problems. I think she kind of went off the rails with her life, and she's been in some shitty like domestic abuse. There's some real shitty pictures floating around the internet of her like beat up and stuff.
Wow,
it's just
I've never seen any of that.
Yeah, and I don't think they're supposed to be on the internet. I just I don't remember. Yeah. It's a shame. You felt kind of bad for her, like what, and you know, she got kicked out of the band and everything else.
What's weird is that Billy Corgan goes out there as the Smashing Pumpkins, and he has some chick playing bass for them, like to keep that, you know, original image together. That's fucking weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't even know how many of those guys are still in, right? Because Jimmy Chamberlain went to Pearl Jam.
No, it's
no. Matt Cameron. I'm sorry, from Soundgarden. But James Iha was out of the band for a while. I don't know. I don't even.
Somebody died in that band. Remember their keyboard player?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
All right.
Right on.
So rolling on, U2's Europa.
Love it.
Dude, I don't like
Yes.
this album.
Come on. The Edge.
It's too. I do like the song. You put Numb on here.
Dude,
I
come
do
on.
like that song with him. The video,
it was his moment to shine.
I like that
You
song.
know?
That the video is really weird, man. It's like
It's supposed to be.
yeah.
They were like, dude, just years before that, they were like, rattle and hum, being taken really seriously. And now, like October Baby, they were being really not so serious, but then they got like real, funny there for a minute. The whole album's not that great, but like Numb is the shit. Play it.
All right, here.
Don't holler at the gate. Don't take it on board. Don't fall on yourself. Just playing at the chord. If you feel it getting bored. Don't change your brain. Don't listen to the band. Don't change your.
This was like so like surprisingly, it came out when it did. It was like they were still on tour for the October Baby thing. It's only been like a year since that album is out, maybe 2 years. And then they come out with this real fast. They had Lemon on there. They had another song on there. It was a slow song. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But,
that's all right.
I love when Numb got the attention that it did because it was all the Edge. And listening to that on headset was fucking killer.
Yeah.
Like all the layers it's going on in the background of everything. Like and Bono coming up singing the high part like did at the end. But he's also deep in the track. You can hear him doing little notes. Killer.
He was like at
killer.
the beginning of it, you could hear him like as it was just the song was starting. I heard his voice a little bit. It's the first time I ever listened to it with headphones on, but I do like that song. This is also a stage in their career where like they turned a corner. I guess Octung Baby, they started doing that. They got a lot more like electronic and their sound got a lot more complicated.
Well, they did that album and then they did Pop right after that. So like they were still like making fun of themselves, I guess. Like Pop was them making fun of themselves. They had some great songs on that album, but they were definitely making fun of themselves when Zooropa came out.
The Zoo TV tour was really big too, right? That's when their stage show kind of went to a whole nother level with all that.
He was like, they would give him a telephone and on the big screen, they would show commercials from the local area and a pizza shop came up and the phone number came up. So Bono called the pizza place up and ordered so many whatever pizzas and everybody walked out with a slice of pizza.
Huh.
You never heard that?
No, I never heard that story.
Holy
That's
shit.
great.
That's like, oh yeah.
That's
There
funny.
was a couple times he called the White House with the phone. Yeah. That I didn't get to see that tour. I don't know why. It was that Veterans not Zooropa, but the October Baby tour. It came to Philadelphia. I didn't go. It was that Veterans Stadium. Primus opened up for them.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
He just did you see Les Claypool's getting the Flying Frog Brigade back together? They're going out on the road this summer.
Well, we have to go.
They're not playing in Philadelphia. Not yet. He hasn't announced any Philly dates yet. So there's
Road
nothing
trip.
there's nothing
Road
in the
trip.
area, but it was really cool. He's getting the band back together. I'll have to take a look and see where they're playing. All right, man. I want to keep rolling here. I got a couple other albums that I had in this bucket. Bjork, her debut album.
Yeah. It was
really
different.
cool song.
Yeah. It was alternative.
Let's play a little bit of it. Here's
She's got a pretty voice,
Human Behavior.
Yeah.
And human behavior, be ready to get confused. And me and my head, I
little too weird for me.
She was in that band, the Sugar Cubes, before
Sure.
that. Yeah,
Sure.
and that was always, I think when we were in high school, that was the band that like the cool kids knew about. They were never
Yeah.
mainstream.
All the Joy Division band kids.
Right.
Yeah.
I like her because she's always trying different stuff. Some of her things are,
Yeah, she's way out
it's-
there.
it's too far, it's too much for me, but some of her stuff I do like. I think she really helped bring a lot of that electronic sound into
Yeah.
alternative rock and roll too.
Yeah.
I like that song. I like I think it's cool, like her voice. You can hear a little bit of an accent when she sings because she's
Was she from Iceland?
yeah, she's Icelandic. So you can hear a little bit of like an accent in her voice.
Oh, she
And,
totally sounds, her English is like broken.
yeah, it does sound like that a little bit. And she always does like interesting stuff. Like her voice kind of is high there, and then it's got that really deep drum beat going behind it. And she's just cool. She's still making
She is cool. Yeah.
making music. So
She's so talented. Oh, whoever captured her, I don't know who produced that album. And the second album she came out with a couple years after that was fucking awesome too.
that was also had some really weird, like some videos and stuff. And
Some of it's a little bit too weird for me, but I can appreciate it. The videos were sick. Her
Yeah.
running through the jungle or some shit.
the giant teddy bear was chasing her
Yes.
in one of the songs. It might have been on this song. Yeah, I dig it. I was enjoying. This is one of the albums I went back and listened to the whole thing the last week, and I was enjoying it.
I always thought it was, going back when it was like over my head.
Okay.
I probably like it more now. I listened to
Yeah.
that track a lot this week. And to hear on headphones, we say it all the time. There's so much shit going on in the
Definitely,
background.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of shit going on with her music. So it's just a lot of layers, a lot of complicated stuff, a lot of different instruments. So,
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Moving on. What do I got on here next? Counting Crows, August and Everything After.
Great album.
This is just a great rock and roll record.
Yes, I love the Counting Crows. This album and the second album I really loved also.
I was thinking about working in the music store, and I'm going to date myself, but it was like we had a cassette player that we played the music with.
Sure.
So we would always be playing like the first half of this album all the time instead of playing the whole, you play half of it and then you'd pop it out and throw something else in. But yeah, it was crazy.
Like this album, like Mr. Jones got my attention, but it wasn't until I heard Round Here that it really got my attention. I was like, wow, this dude has something to say. Wow. Like, and then, that whole album is fucking unbelievable. What did I put on there?
Rain King.
Let's play some of that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sex that we got in the belly of a black winged bird. Don't try to feed me, 'cause I've been here before and I deserve a little more. I belong in the service of the queen. I belong anywhere but in between. She's been crying. I've been thinking.
I love that song. My band
Again.
plays it.
Again, listening to it with the headphones on. There's an acoustic guitar in there. There's just a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Hammond organs going on in the background.
Doing this show has changed the way I listen to music too. Like
Sure.
sometimes I stop and my brain zooms in on the bass line or the drums more, and it's just really, really cool.
I mean, they're a great band. I hate to say, but a lot of their songs are bummers. A lot of their songs are just so depressing. I think that's why a whole generation got behind it. Generation X was not the happiest generation.
No, we weren't. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a great album. I mean, again, another band that they're still around. They're still making music. Their
music
kind
kinda-
of
They kind of like, their sound still holds up. They come around every once in a while with like the Wallflowers or something like that and play like a bigger venue, which is awesome.
That's a great point, because a lot of these bands have started teaming up and doing those like tours like that. I saw them with Live like
That must have been
15
fun.
15 years ago. Yeah, it was
That must have
fun.
been awesome.
It was a good show. I remember it was pouring rain. It was in an outdoor venue. We got soaked, but yeah, it was a good time. They kind of did some songs together. I think the guy from Live came out and did Hanging Around with them, and Adam Duritz came out and did a live song with them. It was cool.
I saw the Counting Crows at the Tower Theater in Upper Darby, Philadelphia. And that was like 1996. And they brought the fucking house down. It was
very cool.
Great show. Great. Cake opened up for them. It always, you know, when I think of the Counting Crows, that's the show that I remember most. They weren't like the most popular band around, but they were like well enough known to play, you know, the Tower Theater, which is a huge theater in Philadelphia. It's one of the bigger venues. Not open anymore, but you know, maybe it will come back one day.
The Tower? Is that the Tower? The Tower's still there in Upper Darby?
It's still there, but there's no shows going on. They had some art thing going on up there.
There are no upcoming events. You're right. Shit.
It's a shame.
I know, like it changed owner, it changed hands or something.
You know what they had there? They had the Van Gogh exhibit there. Not the exhibit, but the virtual reality Van Gogh thing. That was there, which is weird.
It shows how out of touch I am that, you know, not paying attention to shit. But,
you know, I miss that venue a lot. I don't think it survived the pandemic. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. All right. Let's keep on rolling. The Cranberries debut album came out this year in 1993.
Not a fan. No, I mean, they're Irish. We accept them all. Right on for the Irish. But, you know, I don't like her voice.
It's Linger was like a really melodic song. And I remember everyone kind of went like WTF when like Zombie came out because it was so different sounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you said they were real, like, I don't know, how can you say, like real soft, real like contemporary. And then they got fucking metal with Zombie. I don't know what it is that I never liked about them. Maybe it was because they were played out. You know, and I necessarily don't like chick singers. I'm sorry.
I felt that when she died, I was kind of surprised that so many people gave a shit. And I know that sounds so rude, but it was kind of like, I was like, was
she that popular?
Right. I was like, is she really that popular? They like, oh my God. Like I just,
you still go in the supermarket and you hear her songs in the supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, that's you know, you made something special when you hear it in the supermarket, you know?
Right. They're not listening to us in the supermarket. So I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I remember listening to this album a lot. I didn't listen to it front to back the last 2 weeks.
Was it like something you had to listen to at Sam Goody?
Yeah. It's exactly what it was. That was probably, I don't remember owning a copy of it. I know the songs that are on the radio. I was driving around today and something Linger was on, or one of those songs.
What song did I put on our playlist?
Dreams.
Let's play it.
All right, here we go.
That's the song I like by them until she starts yodeling.
It's got a good beat to it. I like the guitar work in it.
Her sound of her voice is beautiful there, but they just played out that yodeling sound that she came out with on the song. On every fucking song she did something like a yodel.
Between her and Jewel,
yes,
you couldn't go into a supermarket in the 90s without hearing somebody yodeling at you.
I like Jewel's first album. Well, you know, we'll talk about when that year comes up.
I think it's 95.
Yeah, we got a couple of years till then. They were a big hit. This is the Cranberries. They were huge. They're still on every like easy listening channel and supermarkets and commercials. And you know, what the fuck do we know?
Right. Yeah, that's another, like when Linger comes on, I think a very specific, like summertime, being in high school. It's just tied to memories, but it's not
absolutely. It does remind me of driving around in my first car. Absolutely.
It's not a band that I go seeking to go listen to. No, if I ever listen to them, it's because it comes on.
In no means. If anything, I turn the channel off if they come through. Just not my thing. I'm sorry. I try to be positive.
It's all good, dude. All right. The last one that I had in this group is Liz Phair and Exile to Guyville. I've talked about this a couple times before.
Yeah.
That this album was supposed to be her song by song response to Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones.
I was trying to remember what it was this week. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, and this album is number 56 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. It was really kind of like girl power without the shitty, like girl power in the 90s was like the Spice Girls, but this was like rock and roll, punk rock.
Liz Phair kind of, Lil Phair kind of shit.
Yeah, this was more like punkish rock and roll.
Yeah, she's cool.
Even the album cover is like she's topless and it's just like cut so you can't see anything.
Her nipples like hanging out, isn't it?
You barely,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. I always noticed that working in the record store.
It's before, and she's kind of making like a O face on the album cover. And it's before she went pop. It was really disappointing.
Is there something on there from?
Yeah, dude. I had put the song Never Said on here. All right, here you go.
Give them an example. Right on. That's awesome. I never heard that.
It's got that classic 90s kind of rock sound to it, like alternative sound to it.
Exile Main Street's my favorite Rolling Stone album.
We did a whole show.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that one. Now, is she going song for song response to everything on there? Is that what she's trying to do? Or she's just made a gritty album?
I believe it's supposed to be a song by song response to.
Wow. I'll really have to pay attention to that. I like what I heard. It definitely sounded like something that was recorded Exile-ish.
I think she did it like real basic, like on a 4-track at home or some shit like that. I don't remember the whole story behind it.
It's very gritty.
It's a shame because later in her career, she went like the sex route, and it was kind of like you see a picture of her like naked, like holding a guitar, and the guitar is like covering all of her naughty bits and stuff. And
it's lame.
It just wasn't. It wasn't the same kind of punk edgy, and her music kind of got poppy. I get, dude. If she got paid off of it, God bless her. But
absolutely, But she was a great for the women's right movement. Not that sounds awful. I mean, for women's music, making it more identifiable that women are taking over in music in '93.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. It's like empowering that it's like a cool rock and roll. I don't want to say swinging dick, but you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like edgy sound to it.
I don't remember any of her being on MTV at all, unless it was on 120 minutes.
Correct. Yeah. It's just, that's another thing too, is she was never really mainstream. You didn't hear her on the radio until she kind of went pop in the late 90s.
She's cool. I'll have to, I like her voice.
It's worth checking out. Yeah.
I never not liked her. I just
something
don't know.
You just never
I just don't know.
All right. Why don't we take a real quick break and hear from our sponsors, and then circle back and let's talk about some more rock and roll and some heavy stuff.
All right. Stick around.
All right. I got a couple other rock and roll albums that I didn't know where to put them. And I have two of them. The first one was Get a Grip by Aerosmith, and the other one was The Spaghetti Incident by Guns N' Roses.
Love The Spaghetti Incident.
Do you really? That's
fucking right. I do. It's like, it was like, I'll get into it when we talk about it.
Okay, let's do it. And we'll talk about Aerosmith later. I put in my notes like this was the beginning of the end for Guns N' Roses.
Are you fucking kidding me? This album is so fucking good. It's like an introduction to punk rock. Like, I mean, it's produced as well as it ever can be. Punk rock can be. Punk rock's really gritty recording wise. I mean, Guns N' Roses just did a bunch of these punk rock covers, but really oddly, remember the single was that old fucking doo-wop song. That was awful.
Since I Don't Have You.
That was fucking awful. But yeah, they did a lot of punk rock songs on there. There's a song on there now. Can we play it?
Sure.
What did I put on there?
Hair of the Dog.
Yes.
That's the Nazareth song?
Yes, this is
Okay.
fucking rocking.
All right, here we go.
Pump it up.
Midnight soldier, what they've been saying must be true. Red hot mama, there'll be trouble till John comes to pay your dues. Now you're messing with a son of a now you're messing with a son of a bitch. Now you're messing with a son of a now.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody knows that song. I think
Sure.
it's a great cover. They did we remember we did our punk rock episode. They do New Rose on there. I don't know. It was a real big introduction to me of punk rock because I only knew about the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, but this album opened it up more for me, knowing to find out more about these other punk rock bands.
Well, I remember that the doo-wop song and thinking it sucked.
It did
And then
suck.
And then hearing the rest of it was all covers. And then all the shit that they took because they covered the Charles Manson song.
Oh yeah,
They covered
that song. That was awful. That was a bad choice by them.
So, and I was reading a little bit about that, like what made them do that. And they did it, but they didn't put it on the copy that they sent out to like reviewers. So it didn't go to like Spin or Rolling Stone. And then when the album went out to production, it was on there and everyone went bonkers. Like, what are you fucking doing? And then
Axel's out of his fucking mind.
and they donated all the money from it. Like they said, anytime they played it, they were going to, we talked a little bit before about the royalties, where the royalties went for like Charles Manson music. And it was like, somebody said he was his kid, sued the estate and all this other kind of shit. But he was, he said he was going to give the money to like victims' families or something every time they played it. But they still took a ton of shit.
Holy shit. I wonder what like Slash and the other guys in the band thought. Because, Axel does whatever the fuck he wants to. You don't know what's going to come out till it comes out.
Then I was reading an interview with the band. I don't remember who said it, but they thought they were being cute. Like, haha, we're doing a Charles Manson thing.
Well, they were the most dangerous band in the world at that time.
Sure.
That was so taboo. Charles Manson still is so taboo. And to do one of the songs, I think people forget Manson was a musician. That was like the ultimate thing that made him go berserk, that he was a failure in music.
I think we sent that song to the electric chair, if I remember correctly. I think we did.
But I'm going to give Axl Rose the shitbag of the week for making that song happen.
Shitbag of the week.
Dun, dun, dun. Good call, right?
Yeah. Some heavy stuff. I didn't think this year wasn't like 93 didn't have a ton of really awesome heavy metal music to it.
It was the meltdown. The meltdown was going on, bro.
One of my buddies mentioned that the Sepultura album Chaos AD that came out, he's like, I listened to that. My buddy Sean from Atlanta, he's written in the show before. He's like, I have listened to that album every single day. And I was kind of like, it didn't do anything for me. I was never a huge like Sepultura guy.
They're way too heavy for me.
Yeah.
I mean, not heavy enough, but they're like almost Cookie Monster vocals.
Yeah, they're right on that edge.
I
But
can't get down with that shit.
there are two bands that, well, I guess there's three. There's two bands on here that are like way more melodic that I put on the list. And the first one was Tool's album, Undertow.
Great album. That was like a turning point for music, that album.
It was almost like they're saying like, hey man, heavy metal's still here. Because it went mainstream, right? It got
And
a lot
it was
of
still
attention.
alternative also.
Yeah,
As much
it was
as
like
metal, it was alternative.
they were like progressive, like metal
that's great.
sound.
Yeah. And I remember them being on Headbangers Ball. I just see them bigger as a metal band, bigger than a metal band.
The videos were really weird. All the stop
Claymation.
motion, yeah, it was really cool. We got Prison Sex on here. Let's play some of that.
Love it.
I was so young and fast, don't know what hurt me, but I'm breathing so
they have such like the driving deep bass that's such a part of that sounds.
Yeah, the drums are big in it too.
Yeah, their whole rhythm section is just real churning, deep sounding. It's very cool.
He's an interesting guy. Maynard. He's probably one of the most intelligent guys in rock and roll.
And he's like a recluse too. Like he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's always wearing like weird outfits when he's on stage.
Oh yeah, I was sitting like fifth row at one of those shows in the last 5 years, and he had like a riot gear on. It was fucking unreal. If you were sitting like fucking all the way on the other side of the stadium, you wouldn't be able to know what he looks like because he stands in the shadows. It's really weird to show how it's set up. He stands to the side on a platform and the lights and shadows, and he hides in it and shit and sings, and the drummer is like right up front. It's a weird setup. They're weird guys, man.
I've heard that. He's a big like wine. He owns like a vineyard out in California. When we were doing the Les Claypool thing, Les Claypool owns a vineyard and was talking about how he like Les Claypool was like, I own a vineyard, but all I do is I drink the wine. He's like Maynard is involved in raising the crops and making the wine, and he's like real hands on. And I think he said he has a restaurant too. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, there's a great interview with Joe Rogan that he.
Oh, really? With Maynard?
With Maynard, yeah. It's on YouTube.
I'll check it out, man.
The only thing they talk about is his wine. Unfortunately,
okay.
That's all they talk about. But
I'll check it out.
Joe Rogan to get him on the show is big.
Yeah, sure. The second biggest podcast in the world behind us.
Behind us, sir.
Right. The other band that I had on here, kind of melodic, weird stuff, was Typo Negative.
I seen them in concert, and I just don't get it. I get it, but wow, you want to talk about depressing fucking music?
Oh,
this guy, this fucking dude. What was his name?
Man, he died.
Yeah, he like killed himself, didn't he?
No, he had Peter Steele. He didn't. No, dude, he was clean, and then he had diverticulitis, like inflammation in like the nooks and crannies in your intestine.
Oh wow!
And then it went septic, and he died from it. But
oh wow,
his organs were all beat to shit from years
all
of
the junk and shit.
Yeah, like abuse and drugs. But he was clean when he died.
That's a shame.
But
I remember him. I seen him in concert. Right, he opened for Queensryche, and he comes out, and I'm sitting real close, and I can see the look on his fucking face, and he's like, "I wrote this song about me jumping off a building and landing on someone that I hate." I was like, right on. Now I understand. And the other thing I remember, everybody making a big deal out of it when he was in Playgirl, whatever the fuck it was. They made a big deal on that.
I think I still have that issue actually.
Right on. I bet the warden has it.
Right. I think he borrowed mine.
Oh God. But the ladies loved them. The ladies loved Typo Negative.
And I remember that the bass player played an upright, so they did have a little bit of a different sound.
What did I put on there?
Christian Woman. Yeah, it's definitely not happy music. It's like a lot of stuff is like slow and plodding, and it's depressing and it's dark, but here you go.
Play it. Very gothic, very goth.
It's you would expect to like it's raining and there are gargoyles around and all kinds of other kind of stuff. I like it when I listen to it. Again, it's not something I normally go looking for to put on. And then the last thing I had on here, dude, I think we should probably mention the heavy stuff, was the Metallica, the Binge and Purge box set.
Love it, man. We had this. I still have it in the bar.
It's
Like,
above the beer cooler
Yes.
behind the bar. I remember seeing it.
Our listeners don't know, it was like this box set that Metallica put out from their live shows, off the Black Tour, off those, like Enter Sandman came out, and this is the tour that they did, and they recorded it in Mexico. And it was fucking awesome. It was one of my favorite things that came out by them ever.
The box was cool too. It looked like a loadout crate, like you put all the gear in and stuff.
It came with like stencils of the Metallica logos at that time, some backstage passes. It came with some VHS tapes at the time. Yeah, I love that box set, and I love the recordings of it, because it was like when Metallica was really fucked up drinking. There was like everything was like fucking so raw when they were drunk all the time. Everything was just so much faster. And James Hetfield, drunken James Hetfield was fucking awesome. Now they're clean and sober, which is way better than anything. But this is it captures a time of Metallica being the biggest rock stars in the world and being drunk for most of it. It made me a bigger fan to see this live shit all the time. I just watched the hell out of it.
Here you go, man. You put Whiplash on here.
Yeah. That was Jason Newsted, man. Jason Newsted was the man. He fucking rips that out.
That's loud, that's heavy, that's fast, that's Metallica.
Whiplash is on, I believe, the first album of Metallica. I believe. I can't remember. I'm not going to say it out loud because Comic Book Guy is listening.
You were right. It's on Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, right on. If you hear the regular version of it, it's okay, but that version where it's at.
Right on. All right, man. So I think that's all the rock and roll stuff. I've got hip hop, and then I've got a long list of just kind of other albums and some one-off songs that we can rip through. Maybe we take a break here.
Awesome.
And we'll circle back and we'll take it from there.
All right, stick around.
We'll be back. Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia. There's something for everyone on the beer list and the jukebox at McCusker's. It's minutes from the sports stadiums in Philly, making it a great place to stop by for a few drinks before or after a concert or a game. Come see for yourself why everyone from Philadelphia Magazine to Playboy has called it one of the best dive bars in the city. Visit them at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia or on Facebook. That's McCusker's Tavern. I'm really excited to tell you that Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by Boldfoot Socks. We're so happy to have them on board because they're good people who do good work while making a good product. Let me tell you why. Their motto is grown here, sewn here, because Boldfoot Socks are made in America. They have a variety of styles and designs for everything from work, working out, or doing a podcast about music. They're a veteran-owned business and give 5% of all their proceeds to veteran charities. I'm down with companies who pay it forward, so Boldfoot Socks is cool with us and the show. As soon as you're done listening to this episode of Prisoners of Rock and Roll, head on over to boldfoot.com and check out all the different styles they have. That's boldfoot.com. All right, we're back from the commercial break. Thanks so much for sticking with us. I'm going to jump over to some hip hop music, man. I thought that this year, 1993, was bigger for hip hop than almost any other genre of music.
So many great hip hop albums came out in 93. I mean, one of the biggest albums that came, well, I'm sure we're going to go down the whole list of them. I mean, who's the first one we could talk about?
Snoop Dogg.
That's what I was going to say. What bigger album came out than Doggy Style?
Yeah. You know, that album, it's not, he pulled all his music off of Spotify.
I know. I know. I tried to find a sound or a song for us to put on,
Yeah.
which is kind of shitty of him.
He said they don't pay for shit, so he pulled it, and then he said he's working on his own like streaming app or some app that you got to go to listen to.
Oh yeah,
Because he owns the fuck is that? Death Row Records. He owns Death Row now, so he pulled all the Death Row music off of there. The Chronic isn't on Spotify anymore.
It hasn't been on there for years.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the album is one of the most important hip hop albums ever made. It solidified that whole sound.
It seems like he was around earlier than 93 because he was on the Chronic, and we talked about the Chronic in 92. So he was already like a household name when his album dropped. You know, everybody knew who Snoop Dogg was when his fucking out. And then Gin and Juice was huge. And a couple other songs, you know, on that album.
When this album came out, this is the one that like C. Dolores Tucker starts going after. It was just getting crushed for, you know, his portrayal of women and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh my God, he was awful. But that's what Snoop is, you know.
It's funny because he has such a different image now, right? He did all that shit with Martha Stewart, and he's on like the Corona commercials on the beach with the white dude.
No, he's
trying to rap.
He's definitely Snoop Dogg. Everybody, my dad knows who Snoop Dogg is.
Sure.
I mean, he was the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
I mean,
he's the SNOOPDOGG, you see.
I thought it was weird of him when he wanted to be a Rastafarian.
Snoop Lion.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Thankfully, that was short-lived, but yeah, but that sound, man, that G-funk, real smooth is just, I associate that with him. And there's so many artists that came after him that had that sound, but he started.
Everybody start biting off of them. Like all that. I think it was all Dre making those 70s mixes, like using all those songs from the 70s. You know, like Parliament. He started fucking sampling that shit.
Yep. What else? Oh, shit. The other big debut, there's a handful of them. Another one that came out, man. The Wu-Tang Clan. We're finally going to talk about the Wu-Tang Clan.
The Wu. Man, I haven't even got around to see their TV show yet.
I didn't even know they had one.
Yeah, I hear it's fucking great.
I will have to watch that.
Yeah, I'll have to get on that. We're going to watch that shit and do a whole episode on the Wu.
I would love to. I think I mentioned before that, you know, they're the most brilliantly marketed hip hop band in history. And we could do like a little bonus episode or something on the business side of them. I think it's
fucking
fascinating
brilliant.
to me. They really are, man.
They should write a book about how the fuck they did it. Just getting their name out there was them. Do you remember the jukebox? The video you can make video requests off the phone. So what they did was they get credit cards, they max them the fuck out on the jukebox and had their songs playing over and over and over. And I always remember Wu-Tang being on the jukebox channel. So it's like, that makes a lot of sense. Like they were the ones that were maxing out credit cards to do that shit.
Even like, I mean, in the grand scheme of hip hop music too, like they brought the spotlight back to New York, right? Because like the Biggie album's not out yet, like all that other East Coast shit. Like, you know, California is so big with Dre and Snoop and all that other kind of stuff. And it sounds so different than Snoop Dogg. The samples were different than what other people were using. It
was so different.
They were goofy, right? They made like references to like comic books and pop culture and shit like that. They had those little.
But that's what's cool about the Wu-Tang.
Yeah,
the RZA, and you know, he's a comic book guy. You know,
and he is a fucking genius. Like
absolutely. I cannot agree with you more.
All the album scores he does now. You know, he wrote the scores for the Kill Bill movies. Yeah, he just does all. I talked before about how he wrote another, like an ice cream truck jingle.
Yes, I remember that because he didn't like the one that was like
it came out of some old like racist song, and he was like, he just wrote it and was like, I'm giving it away. I don't want any money. He's like, just kind of like, hey man, let's just talk about this, and just just really, really cool.
I hope who's the dirtball that bought the Wu-Tang album?
That pharmaceutical guy.
Yeah. Well, how cool would it be if the Wu-Tang fucking bought it back and put that shit out?
It would.
That'd
be
brilliant for the. They'd sell all kinds of fucking, unreal. Especially maybe ODB's on it. Come on.
They used to make each other too. Like when they would record, it's like, because there was like 9 of them. It's like, who gets the spotlight? The RZA would have them actually like do rap battles, and the winner would get to be on the album.
Wow.
So like in some of their solo shit, I think it's like, I'm a little rusty my Wu-Tang, but like one of them was like Raekwon's album. There's one like, there's just like a song called Raekwon versus Method Man or something like that. And it's just one of those rap battles.
How many albums came out of the Wu-Tang title or the record company? You had the Redman, you had the RZA, you had ODB.
Redman wasn't in Wu-Tang. Method Man was.
Method Man, maybe. That's
Method Man did shit with Redman.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Yeah, you had Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, the Jizza, that Liquid Swords album was huge.
And they all had albums out. They were brilliant. It was brilliant.
And then they had like flunkies, like other guys that weren't in Wu-Tang. They were like affiliates that came out. Yeah, dude, and every one of those things sold 1 million copies.
Let's play some Wu-Tang.
Yeah, dude, protect your neck.
Like your neighborhood Spider-Man, so all tick-tock and keep ticking. Well, I get you flipping off the shit I'm kicking. The Lone Ranger, co-ed, danger. Deep in the dark with the art to rip the charts apart. The vandal, too hot to handle your battle. You're saying goodbye like to be careful. Roughneck, Inspector Dex on the set. The rebel, I make more noise than heavy metal. The way I make the crowd go wild. Sit back, relax, won't smile. Ray got it going on, pal. Call me the rap assassinator.
Who the fuck's cooler than those guys, man?
The beats are still good. Like the beats hold
so
up.
New York. That sound is so New York.
The way they hand off to each other is great. It's just a great album, dude. You don't have to be a hip hop fan to listen to that and appreciate it.
That whole album is. I would love to get that on vinyl. That'd be a great one to have.
That would be cool to have. Yeah, and that blows my mind that album is 30 years old. But
man, we couldn't keep that on the record store.
It was enormous. And then they had the double album that came out. Like they kind of got back together.
Oh my God. We had to keep everything behind the cash register because dude, it was walking out the door.
Yep.
So many, we never had copies of the first Wu-Tang album in the record store because they were all stolen.
Yep.
Fucking unbelievable.
Out the door. Shimmy, shimmy, ya, shimmy, yo.
Shoplifter.
Dollar bill, y'all. I still say that all the time, and that's from the Wu-Tang Clan. But
the Wu, I'm telling you, I'm gonna watch that TV show, and we're gonna do a fucking little show about the Wu.
Remember, we were working in Sam Goody. We had one of those like they gave us these stupid yellow T-shirts to wear for some promotion, and I cut the sleeve off and I put it on my head, and I took a Sharpie marker and I drew the Wu-Tang W on it. And somebody asked me what it was. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the new Wu wear, like the budget line or some shit like that. All right, man. I got a couple other hip hop albums. Cypress Hill's debut album came out this year.
Yeah, dude. Great fucking record, man.
Again, another hip hop band that nothing sounded like that.
They crossed over, man. They weren't just like a hip hop band. They were like almost like they had like a rock band persona about them.
Insane in the Brain was a huge crossover hit for white folk in the suburbs. And remember it was much later. Remember they did that album? They did like a rap version and they did a rock version. They did like that song Rap Superstar and they did a version called Rock Superstar.
Yeah, it's coming back to me.
It was later. I think it was in the 2000s when it came out.
Be Real is my man.
Yeah.
Like he's the he's fucking unbelievable. I would love to hang out with that guy and just talk shit and like do bong hits. Speaking of bong hits, let's play the fucking beginning of
Hits from a Bong. Here we go.
Yeah.
Again, the sample is fresh, little Dusty Springfield.
Nice. Yeah. In 93, they were really, these rap groups, Snoop, Cypress, all of them pushing like about weed. It was like weed was now a household name again. I remember in my high school, Philly blunts were big at the time, and wearing the gear, Philly Blunt gear
with the Philly
big.
Blunt logo on it.
Yeah, I mean that was huge with the I don't know, with the skateboarder kids, with the hip hop kids. It was a time when weed was getting really popular everywhere.
Sure.
It was the beginning, even Bill Clinton,
Right.
he admitted that he was
Right.
smoking weed,
Right, Pete. He didn't inhale. I didn't inhale.
It was he was funny when he said that. He was like, it's one of the most things that I failed in my life. Like other things I failed in my life at.
All right. A couple other hip hop albums. Salt and Peppa's album came out very necessary. The best-selling female hip hop album of all time at the time.
God, I was listening to some of their songs and that took me back. Listen to some of their shit.
Yeah, like Shoop was on there. That was a huge song.
What a Man was a big song.
Yeah.
I love Salt and Pepper. I don't think we need to play anything by them.
Yeah. All right. Tupac had an album come out this year. It wasn't as huge as some of his later stuff, but it was still
groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's still some of his art.
You know what? All right, I got two other ones. One was Onyx.
Yeah, I remember them.
That song kind of has like I'm gonna play a little bit of it in a second, but it has like almost like a punk vibe to it a little bit to me. Like
Slam?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were definitely heavy.
Yeah, it was just different sound. They seemed like just real angry dudes.
I think it was mostly like hype. Like they wanted to get everybody hype up. I don't necessarily think that they were angry. I don't know.
You're probably right. It was a cool song though. Here, a little bit of it. Just a different delivery. I mean, you think of Snoop Dogg.
It makes you want to get into a mosh pit, like slams. Like instead of Snoop, makes you just want to chill the fuck out. Onyx makes you want to get in the pit. I think was maybe what they were going for.
There's like an edginess to their music,
which was different for '93.
Sure, yeah.
For hip hop to have like edge of it, to have something.
I agree. All right, the last thing I had on here wasn't a big hit, and that was the Guru Jazzmatazz album. Did you listen to this? I sent it to you.
I remember you liking this all the time. I remember you talked about it. Why don't you educate me on it?
So Guru is one half of the guys in Gangstar, and which it's a hip hop group that I really like. But he and I remember when this came out, and I totally forgot about it for like 20 years. And then when I was looking up the list of albums that came out, I'm like, oh, fuck, I remember this. And so he sings or he raps over, he's got a live jazz band behind him the whole time when he raps. I'll play a little bit. This is a song called Lounging.
Check that out. If I rhyme this, you will find this situation shall advance. You could take a glance or dance. Elevated lyrics to arouse a crowd. Now tell me who's the man to show you how. Many legacies of brothers who get busy. And I do it fluid till the suckers get dizzy. Saying peace to the Blackbirds, 125th Street. And check the flow that's unique. For lounging, mellow out and just lounging. Mellow out and just lounging. Can't refuse this, never lose this. It's a choice, this, cause my voice.
I love the horn in the background. The horn in the background's killer.
You think about hip hop now and all that auto-tune bullshit.
Yeah.
And compared to this, I'm like, that is so fresh sounding, just so different. Yes. He did a whole series of them too. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. Just really, really cool.
That's very cool, man. I don't know too much about that guy.
Yeah. Gangstar was cool. I think Guru passed away. Yeah, he died in 2010. But
okay.
So, But yeah, just really cool. So
Yeah, it has a great sound. It has a 93, 90 sound to it, bro.
definitely. All right, man. I got a whole list of other albums we can just kind of tear through, and let me know if there's any of them you want to talk about. Before I do that, I want to mention that I watched one of those YouTube videos that had like, here's a list of songs that turned 30. And I was like, holy shit, man, dance music, everything sounded exactly the same in 93. It was awful. And
Oh, God, yeah.
and a lot of R&B music in 1993 sucked too.
Oh my God, dude. There were so many groups that were fucking awful.
Yeah. 90s rhythm and blues music is not very, I think it's not very
It was
good.
corny as shit.
Yeah.
I thought it was corny. It was like a thousand like Jodeci bands.
That's right. That's who I have on the notes. Jodeci, SWV, Tevin Campbell, Blackstreet, Tony Braxton. It's all not. There's no soul to it. It's just
Tony
sucks.
Braxton was all right.
Yeah, that was a big album too. But
That was a huge album.
yeah, a couple of these albums, I know we got some songs on the playlist. The miscellaneous odds and ends. The Butthole Surfers album, Independent Worm Saloon. I love this album so much. I listened to this front to back all the time when I was in
Really? I never got down with the Butthole Surfers. I always liked what they did with Ministry.
Yeah, Jesus Built My Hot Rod.
That was a great song.
This they got the worst name in rock and roll, and
Oh my God, it's so offensive.
but that album, dude, I listened to that front to back. This is another thing that as we were getting ready to do the show, I fired it up and I was like, oh man, I used to listen to this so much when I was in high school. We put Who Was in My Room Last Night on there. I remember that from like Beavis and Butthead. I think it was on 120 Minutes or Headbangers Ball too.
Oh, they were all over that stuff.
Yeah.
MTV had them all over. They had a gimmick. Their name was their gimmick, you know? Their album covers were awesome too.
Yeah, some of the stuff was like censored. Remember that? It was
oh,
like
yeah.
the album that came up after this, they had censored. But all right, here's a little bit of that song. Love it. I love that album.
Great sound. I love the extortion on his voice.
There's a couple songs on there that he's got like really, really heavy. There's a song on that album called The Annoying Song where he has so much distortion on his voice. It's
Annoying.
It's weird. Yeah, that's the point, but it's like real high pitched. But here, wait, hang on. The Annoying Song. Anyway, he's just trying to be
Weird.
yeah. The Candlebox album came out this year. That was a solid rock and roll album.
That was a solid album, like you said.
Sheryl Crow's album came out, Tuesday Night Music Club.
That was a big one.
That was a really big one. Collective Souls. I'm sorry, do you have something on Sheryl Crow?
No. What do I want to say about
Yeah.
Sheryl Crow? I have nothing to
Yeah.
add.
She still looks great, man. She's like 60. And she still looks
Is
good.
she? She
Yeah.
writes some great songs.
She does, man. We talked before a couple times on the show about how she went through that period where she was trying to be sexy, and it was like
It was weird.
that's not her.
So
like,
weird.
yeah, the sexy gothic look, and it was like, dude, just you have a great voice. You write really
Just
great
fucking-
hooky pop songs. Just like,
I seen her in concert,
have you?
and it's like one hit after the other.
Yeah.
You don't realize how many fucking songs she has. Unreal.
Yeah, she's still making music, man. Here we are, 30 years later. Collective Souls debut album came out. That they were kind of
was
cool.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah. Yeah.
The next one, you're gonna break my balls, but the Crash Test Dummies album, God Shuffled His Feet.
I like the Dummies.
I fucking love this album so much. That song was
Yeah,
it kind of derailed their reputation because it was so weird. But
they're still out there. They're coming to Philly.
are they?
Yeah, they're playing like one of these. It's called the Winery, I believe, in the Fashion District in Philadelphia. Check it out.
I'm gonna go look. I saw them play the Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collingswood, where they played this whole album front to back. It was for
Wow.
the anniversary of it, dude. And I was nerding out so hard. I was like, this
I never
is
got
so-
down with them. I like that song, you know.
It's quirky. I put the first song on here, God Shuffled His Feet. I'll play 10 seconds of it. Let me skip ahead on it though.
Yeah, play it.
Heaven, if your eye got pooped out in this life, would it be waiting up in heaven with your wife? God shuffled his feet and glanced around.
I dig that sound.
Yeah, dude. They were a little quirky, little artsy, but
Yeah,
he's
I
got
dig
that
that.
really, he's got that crazy
Bass.
baritone voice. Yeah. So I love that album, dude. That's one of
great.
my, yeah. Frank Sinatra duets.
This was big. This was huge when it came out.
Yeah. So he came out. There was like a couple of them, if I remember. It was like
Yeah.
a series.
It was like a series of, they took Sinatra songs and they added artists to the recording, almost like when
Nat King
Unforgettable.
Yeah.
Yes, Natalie Cole, Nat King, quick to that. But like he did with everybody from Pavarotti to Bono. It got a lot of shit. It got a lot of crap down on it, man. It got a lot of bad press.
Because they didn't record it together. They're not in the studio together, right? It's all like edited together.
Yeah, like they glued the original version and then they put like the artist in. I put Under My Skin on there. Play a little bit of it.
Yeah, let's play it. It's good to. I don't know if a lot of people remember that they did these.
I have got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me.
So deep in my heart, you're really a part of me. I've got you under my skin.
I have tried so.
Yeah, Bono's trying a little too hard there, but
Yeah. They tried to make that the single off of that. There was a video for it and everything. I just don't, maybe I have to correct myself. I don't know if that's the original recordings that they added Bono to. I think maybe there was Frank Sinatra singing a new version of it when Bono sang it. I don't think they were in the same room or anything together or even recording at the same time. But that definitely didn't sound like the original recording.
no, I'll have to look into that a little bit. That's another thing that I remember when it came out. I remember being in a music store having posters and shit all over the place for it.
People,
And
Sinatra fans were not happy. They were pissed.
He also was pretty open to how much he hated rock and roll and stuff like that. We talked about that in the Rat Pack episode. But
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. What else we got on here? Kate Bush came out with an album. We don't need to talk about
We
it.
don't need to talk about her.
No.
We like totally like
Yeah.
totally- she's like getting a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and shit. We just like jump right over her.
She's getting in this year. She's nominated again this year. She's getting in. The Judgment Night soundtrack, dude. The Judgment Night soundtrack,
Amazing.
man, it was so
It's
far
groundbreaking.
ahead of its time. It really is, man. The movie's largely forgettable, but the soundtrack was they partnered up a hip hop artist and a rock and roll artist on every song. And it was like Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam did a cut together, which is really good.
The whole album's great.
Yeah, you put Ice-T and Slayer together doing
Yes.
this. Well, you didn't put them together, but you put the song on here. The song Disorder. Here's a little bit of that, dude.
Our government is fucked. Sure to bring us down. The media incites civil unrest. Hatred can bring you down. War.
I guess you
I think-
shouldn't be surprised after like the body count stuff, but
No, that was a great record. I mean, the Body Count album was fucking that times 100, but what a great Slayer song. The drum intro is fucking killer.
Yeah, that album was really, really cool. I remember hearing that and just being like, dude, nothing sounds like this.
I remember remember the band Prong? I think they were on there.
Yes, the Booyah Tribe was on there with Faith No More.
Yeah.
Sir Mix-a-Lot was on there. It was a great album, dude. If you've never listened to it, it's totally worth going back and checking out. It's got some really cool stuff. And when you think about it, that rock, rap, there wasn't new metal, there wasn't any of that other stuff yet. So
there was none of that.
Way different. So,
and the movie's great.
Yeah, it's okay.
Dennis Leary, come on.
Yeah.
Dennis Leary's the bad guy. How can it not be good?
What else came out this year? Lenny Kravitz's album came out. That was a really big record. One. Are You Gonna Go My Way was on there. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell 2 kind of brought Meatloaf back into the mainstream.
That song was good. That whole album was a fucking I just remember listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, it's so overproduced.
He'd been out of the spotlight for years, and that became a big
but it was
deal.
great for him. It reamped his whole career.
Reintroduced him to a whole nother crowd.
Yeah, I remember him coming out with that and hearing that I'd Do Anything for Love, and then like going back and listening to the original album, the Bad Out of Hell album. It just introduced it to me. That's the other record, and I really got into Bad Out of Hell. You ever really get into that record?
No, I'm not a really big Meatloaf fan.
That album is fucking unbelievable.
Okay.
I have it on vinyl. It's kick ass. I don't care what anybody says.
All right, I'll listen to it. I'll give it a listen. What else? Oh, do you ever listen to the band Morphine?
I remember them.
They were really cool because they don't have any guitars. It's just like a drum, a bass, and a baritone saxophone.
Weird.
And really different, really weird. They never had a lot of commercial success, but they had such a cool sound. I got a song called Bueno on here. So I'll play it just because they were so different sounding.
Cool.
And I feel right now, I have to tell you, I think it's time for me to finally introduce you to the bueno, good, good,
That's great.
It was really cool. He was a sad story too. He died of a heart attack on stage during a concert. He just keeled over and died.
Oh wow, that's awful.
Yeah, and I don't think he was like a drug user or anything. He just had a heart attack.
That's fucking awful.
Yeah, just fell over in the middle of a concert. So and then the band obviously they broke up. But yeah, his name was Mark Sandman.
I remember the band. I mean, the name is fucking great. It's such a great name. I never thought about their music or anything, but you introducing them is fucking real, man. That's some good stuff.
They're cool, man. They're worth checking out. They had that real kind of like a coffee house kind of vibe, but it's a little darker.
I never knew anything about them until now. It's great.
Yeah, it's worth listening to. A couple other albums. Primus, Pork Soda came out. We just did a 2-hour show.
Great album.
Yeah, awesome. Pablo Honey by Radiohead.
Love it.
Was enormous.
You don't like Radiohead?
I don't.
It. Yeah. I love Radiohead. I can't say any. I'm not going to waste your time, Bruce. It's a great record.
Yeah, you're probably not going to sell me on that one.
It's one of their last guitar albums.
Okay.
And then after that, the Bends came out, and that's kind of guitar album. And then OK Computer came out, and that's when they start getting electronic.
Yeah.
I love them, dude. I love them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Uncle Tupelo came out. That was like the band that they were like, do you ever listen to Wilco?
Yeah, I totally know who Wilco is.
Wilco and another band, Sunvolt. They're kind of like
right on. Yeah.
Those guys, both of the guys from both of those bands were in a band called Uncle Tupelo, and Uncle Tupelo split up, and those guys went off to start this. They're both separate bands. So
right on. Yeah, I totally know who Sunvolt is and those dudes. Right on.
Yeah. And all right, so the last album we had is You Might Break My Balls, is Fumbling Towards Ecstasy by Sarah McLachlan. This is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time.
Great record. It's a great record.
Cool.
No, it's It's fucking great. Her voice is unbelievable. I think she should be in a Raw Hall of Fame before Kate Bush does. You know?
I'd be all for that. This album, dude, is just so. It's just sexy, man. Like the.
That's a good way to put it.
It's got like a trip hop kind of sound to it. Like there's a lot of like electronic drums on it. It's not like her later stuff. It's not like the acoustic guitar singer songwriter stuff. It's awesome, dude. I listened to it. Yeah, dude. I got Possession on here, which was a hit. And it was a song about somebody that stalked her, a fan that stalked her. But dude, I listened to this album. I probably listened to it 5 times the last 2 weeks. And I was like, man, I fucking love this album so much.
Great.
Here you go.
Truth enslaved. Oh, you speak to me in riddles and you speak to me in rhymes. My body aches to breathe your breath. Your words keep me alive, and I would be the one to hold you down. Kiss you so hard, I'll take your breath away.
I remember that song being huge.
As much as I am into, Springsteen and Social Distortion and everything, that album just,
Great. Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I was like planning all week. I was going to message you during the week and be like, dude, I'm going to be fanboy all over this album. I was like, nah, let me just,
No,
Let me just-
do it up,
let me
dude.
just
I don't
own it.
know. I mean, my sister loves Sarah McLachlan. That's the most thing I know about her. I know she's fucking awesome. You know, she had her moment of fame, like her in the spotlight. She was big in Little Affair. That was huge.
Yeah.
Little Affair was huge.
Yeah, so
props off to her. She's got a great song on the soundtrack to Angels and City of Angels, I believe.
yeah, some of her later stuff didn't have that same, like the musically behind it. It wasn't as dark. It was more like singer-songwriter kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Still cool, but it wasn't as
Dark and shit.
yeah, like eerie as that album is. So she put out a couple years after that. She put out like a movie, a concert video, and I was watching it this week of her, and she's in like an evening gown and she's singing. She just, her, I don't know. I was just
She's
like,
great.
I was just watching her sing, and I was like, man, she can, yeah, awesome. I saw her tour behind this album, and it was like just awesome.
Great.
Yeah. All right, I could go. I had a big poster of that album cover hanging in my room as a high school.
Okay,
senior,
Bruce,
so-
we get it.
All
I'm only
right.
kidding. I'm only
No,
kidding.
no,
buddy.
it's all good, dude.
I'm only
All right,
kidding.
man.
I
Yeah,
saw
we're-
opportunity for a joke. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. That's hey, I've got my balls busted on the air about going to Little Fair at some point too. So
I
man, we'll get to that story some point. All right, I got some songs. That Four Non-Blondes "What's Up" song.
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
I saw them in concert.
Did you really?
They opened up for Aerosmith.
Okay, well that's different then. Okay, that's
Yeah.
acceptable. If you see a band and they're opening, that's
They're
okay.
they're unrememberable.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
put it like
sure.
that.
Yeah. Good by Better Than Ezra. That was a solid,
Great
like, just
song.
90s. Yeah, they were cool. Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
Yeah, that was the first thing he did in years, and it was the last thing he did.
Yeah, it was.
He hasn't put a
that's-
record out until, dude. Think about it. He hasn't put a record out in 30 fucking years. That fucking dude.
And he's still playing Madison Square Garden every month. He's still
He's playing the
selling it
same
out.
fucking songs, man.
Yeah, I remember when he retired. You're right. That was like the 90s when he retired from making pop music.
Yeah, and he that was the last record he fucking made.
Wow.
He's full of himself. He's full of shit.
Yeah, you were dunking on him a little bit last week too.
Yeah.
Cannonball by the Breeders. That was
Great
kind of
song.
that was a cool song.
Weren't they
That-
like part of another band? The
His-
Breeders,
Yeah. I want to say Sonic Youth.
Sonic Youth or some shit.
Kim Deal and her sister Kelly Deal. The Pixies. She was in the Pixies. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Cannonball's cool, man.
Yeah, that was a decent song. I should have known that too because I had Pixies on my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame snubs last year. But anyway, that fucking song from Robin Hood, the Bryan Adams, Sting,
Oh, my
Rod
God.
Stewart, that
What's
All
that?
for One.
Oh my God, Rod Stewart, Sting, and Bryan Adams.
Yeah, it was terrible. I like Bryan Adams a lot.
So do I, but for that movie, the Disney film.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Costner.
No, it wasn't the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It was the three Musketeers.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Disney
You're right.
film.
Right. Bryan Adams did the.
He did the
Robin Hood. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, Bryan Adams is going out on tour with Joan Jett, bro.
Is he? I think I see that.
They're coming
like
to Philly. They're coming to Philly. Yeah,
I like Bryan Adams.
I like Joan Jett.
She was awesome, dude. Yeah, we talked about that opening for Crew. Depeche Mode, I Feel For You. That was a cool song.
That was a big record.
Cool Like That by Diggable Planets. That was the only song they had. Like I'm cool like that. Yeah, that was cool. They had a jazz sound to it.
Totally. I think hip hop had a big jazz feel going on at that time.
Duran Duran had a couple songs like Come Undone and Ordinary World.
Ordinary World's a great song.
Yeah, I like Come Undone a lot too. Oh, you sent me this earlier in the week, dude. The Three Little Pigs by Green Jelly. This album was great.
It was so fucking awesome.
I know you don't like humor in your music,
no,
but this
album
is different. Was funny.
I had this album and I had the VHS home video. Every song had a video for it, dude.
I had it when it was like Green Jello before they got sued.
Oh, absolutely.
They had to change the name.
Oh, absolutely. Green Jello all the way.
That was an awesome song. Let's play a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's fuck yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
The video is so great. Dude.
The claymation. They had an album come out in 2021. Huh. There's some crap like that. Hadaway, What Is Love? Baby,
what is love?
Yeah, that.
Don't hurt me.
The Bad Boys, the theme from Cops came out.
That came out in 93.
Yeah. Seems like it should have come out in like 73. Yeah, 83.
Yeah, wow.
Laid by James. That song's like a classic.
Hate that song.
Every bar band. Plays
my
that.
band has to play it, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah. Come Baby Come by K7.
Nice. Swing, bada, swing.
Swing. Pets by Porno for Pyros. That was Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction. That was his side project. That was a cool album. I'm not a big Jane's Addiction fan, but I remember that album was cool.
Yeah, I like the Addiction. They're fucking awesome.
Fade Into You by Mazzy Star. That was a really
great song.
That was really cool. Informer by Snow.
Go for it, Bruce.
Yeah, he wrote that when he was in prison. He for attempted murder or something. Informer is about a jail informer. He's this stupid white dude trying to be all gangster
but he was in jail when he wrote the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he comes out of jail and record companies like, hey, thug, come out.
Right.
And, he was the whitest guy ever.
Informer, Informer months you were working at a gas station because of your crappy music.
Him and Vanilla Ice went on tour together.
Oh my God. So lame.
It was called the Blizzard of the Eyes or whatever.
Last Chance for Mary Jane by Tom Petty came out this year.
That was for a greatest hits thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great song, great video. Remember Kim Basinger?
Yes, Kim Basinger, dead.
Yeah.
I Can't Help Falling in Love with You by UB40.
Yeah,
that was on the Sliver soundtrack. They're the biggest cover band of all time.
Yeah, with Red Wine.
Yeah,
which is a cover. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Almost all their songs are covers. And then for some reason, man, there were two songs that came out. There's one that came out in March called "Whoop There It Is," and then in May there was a song that came out called "Whoop There It Is" by Tag Team.
Or they're the same fucking song.
It's the same fucking. It's the chorus is the same. One just goes "Whoop there."
You're gonna play them?
Yeah. We don't need to. We're running so far.
I remember when I think of "Whoop There It Is," I think of the 1993 Philadelphia Phillies. That team was fucking amazing. There were a bunch of has-beens and drunks and guys, one last chance kind of
Yeah.
that was a great ball. They should make a fucking movie about that baseball team.
Yeah, that was a fun year, man. With
Yeah,
sports.
There It Is was like their big fucking song.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's it, dude. We just covered a shit ton of music, man. But a lot of really cool stuff, dude.
Yeah, man. I look forward to doing this show every week, man. I hope everybody else, at home listening takes their mind off things for a while. It does the same thing for me.
Yeah, man. Why don't we move on to the second thoughts and music news? Let me play our new exit bumper.
Yeah.
Second thoughts, man. We got an email from Jim from Ohio. I listened to your episode on Live Aid. There was a lot of great performances, but the story of what happened after the show is just as interesting. So the BBC reported that most of the money that was raised by Live Aid and Band Aid went to the people in Ethiopia who actually started the famine in the first place, and they used the money to buy weapons. But the BBC then had to do a retraction and say they didn't have any evidence to back that up, and they had to apologize in public to Bob Geldof. It was an enormous embarrassment. Also, you guys didn't talk about Live 8, the follow-up to Live Aid. Keep doing the great work. Thanks, Jim.
Live 8 sucked. That's why we didn't talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I went to it.
Did you? Did you?
The biggest thing that I remember that I saw was Jay-Z with Linkin Park. That shit was unbelievable.
That's the one, like Pink Floyd got back together, right? They did the reunion.
Yeah. I forget where they were, but it wasn't in Philly.
It wasn't a Philly. Yeah, it's probably in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting, man, that the BBC published this whole thing. Like the money went to go buy arms and weapons, and then they were like, Geldof like sued them. And they had to go like, oh yeah, we're actually, that's not true. We don't have any evidence. So
Wow. Yeah. Try to do something nice.
Right? I know. Phil from Pennsylvania, he's been we read one of his emails last week. He sent me an email. Phil Collins shit the bed on 2 continents on the same day in Live Aid. It's amazing.
Yeah, and right on. It has been done.
Right.
I don't think anybody else will do it ever again.
No. And then lastly, second thoughts. I want to give a shout out to Anthony from New Jersey. He's a high school student, but he listens to every one of our episodes, and he is constantly telling his friends about us. So just really, really cool. Every time I see him, I'm friends with his parents. He's asking questions about certain things and giving us ideas
I met
for
that
shows.
Little dude. I met that little dude before.
Yeah, really cool.
His parents are great people.
Yeah, it's just awesome that really appreciate the support and always spreading the word. So I gave him some stickers a couple months ago. I should probably give him some more to hand out.
Thanks, little buds.
Yeah, man. Very cool. All right, music news. I guess it's kind of second thoughts too, but 2 of the people we talked about last week in the episode died. So the first one was...
How about that?
Really weird, right?
Yeah, it was weird.
So the first one was David Crosby. So he died January 18th at 81 years old. Obviously a big part of the California folk rock sound of the 60s and 70s in the Byrds and in Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I didn't realize he was in his 80s, but that dude had a rough paper route too. He
was an awful guy too.
Yeah.
He was not a nice guy. Wasn't he the father of Melissa Etheridge's fucking kid? It was like a secret for a billion years, and then it came out, and it was like the cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
Yes, I had totally forgotten about that, but I remember something like that. He was interesting that like when he would do a documentary, he was very open about talking about music, which I found interesting. But yeah, he was not a nice dude. But
yeah. And
then the second one was Jerry Blavat passing away, and a lot of our listeners, if you don't live in Philadelphia, you probably have no idea who he is. But I thought it was worth mentioning. So he was a radio DJ, and his nickname was the Geeter with the Heater, which is, who the fuck knows what that means, but he just kind of made it up. But he died January 20th at 82 years old. And he was on the air in Philadelphia for like decades, but he was cool because he was really famous for playing songs by black musicians in the 60s. And we talked about this in one of the other episodes. Like, back then record labels would hear a song by an African-American artist and they would have a white dude record a version of it.
Sure.
So it'll sell more. And Jerry Blavat would play the black singer for the originals. So
I mean, Jerry was a huge icon in South Philadelphia. I mean, not for nothing, his childhood home is around the corner from where I live on Richmond Street. Absolutely. My dad grew up with them, around them, not say so much with them, but around them. But Jerry is a big thing for Philadelphia rock and roll. Yeah, I never got a chance to meet him, but for what he did was else he did, he started playing the flip side of the single.
The B-sides, yes.
He was doing that. A lot of people didn't like his style because he would talk over the music, but I always found it interesting because he would tell you facts about the songs. It's something like me and you could totally get down with. He would tell you when it was recorded, who recorded it, what they had for breakfast the day before. Like he was very intelligent of his music history. I wish I got to meet him, dude. I never got to meet him.
And he had guys like Aretha Franklin was speaking highly of him. Like he was pretty well known in like the music
Warwick
scene.
gave his eulogy. Somebody gave me his prayer card from his funeral. I have it hanging up in the bar already.
Very cool. He also probably played a really big part in the rise of the Philadelphia soul sound, too.
Totally.
Yeah, that's that's a thing.
Anything that came out of Philadelphia, he pushed. He was a character. He was just bigger than life, and I think the last 20 years of his life, the only thing that kept him going was the cocaine and the Viagra.
He would go out and DJ like 4 nights a week. My mom my mom's in her mid 70s and she still goes out dancing like 4 nights a week and would go places where he was DJ. She actually I saw her over the weekend and she was like, "Are you going to talk about Jerry Blavat dying on your show?" I was like, we actually just talked about him before he died. So
yeah, I was telling my dad we were talking about him. He was like, "Oh, that's weird that you were talking about him before he died." I'm like, "Yeah,
right, yeah." We talk about Kate Bush all the time, and nothing happens to her. So
that's awful. Bam.
No, all right. The electric chair. You got something, right?
Yeah. In 1993. One of the corniest bands around came out with one of the corniest albums around, and it's the Spin Doctors. That album, Pocket Full of Kryptonite, was so cheesy and so awful, man. It was always on the fucking radio. What did I put there? Two Princes?
Two Princes. Yeah, here.
Let's play it, and just the beginning of it. Remember 1993, the song was everywhere. I hate the sound of the snare drum. I fucking hate it.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia page because there was something like he had like a throat problem, like, and he couldn't sing for a while, and he rehabbed back to being able to sing.
Oh, that's cool.
He suffered from a vocal cord paralysis, and he could barely speak, let alone sing. And he's rehabbed, and I guess they're doing another. He's got some solo albums out, so that's kind of cool.
That's cool that he's back out there. Good for him.
Yeah, it's like I respect that. He also, he went to high school with my wife. He went to the same high school my wife did.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, which also is where John Popper went to high school.
Yes. I remember me and her were talking about that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, dude, because they were part of a big scene, like the Horde Fest. They were a big scene together.
He's a year younger than John Popper, but... Yeah, interesting. Huh. Look at that. 3 famous people. My wife, Chris Gross from This Goddamn Band. You know what, dude? He put something on Twitter the other day. He's like, I think it was the Spin Doctors. They said, we have a new album in the can, ready to go. And our account, I wrote back, like, I hope it's a trash can.
That's awful.
All right. Let's
put it out of misery.
We sentence you to death.
You know what, dude? Before we wrap up, too, we do have to say we're recording this. It's February 1st, and it's our superfan Omar's birthday, according to Facebook.
Happy birthday, Omar! Thank you for listening, man.
It's also my wife's birthday, which is
amazing.
Weird. It is weird.
Same day. Does the warden know that?
I think he does. So I married a good woman when I was like, hey, do you want me to do the show another night? It's your birthday. Yeah. She's like, no, go do your show. Like,
she's a very good woman. Absolutely. She was the brains behind our show.
She was the inspiration. She's like, get off your ass and go do this. She's sitting in the other room with getting ready for some cake. We're done here. So
Well, I don't want to keep you, my man.
All right, man. So that's a wrap on episode 57. Thanks so much joining this musical trip back to 1993. We never lose sight of the fact that every time you listen to us, you're choosing to spend time listening to us over doing something else. So just thank you.
Oh my God, guys, we really appreciate it. I look forward to this every 2 weeks to do this with Bruce, and takes my mind off of shit in life. And I hope it does the same for you guys.
Absolutely, man. And I said this 20 times already in the show. I had so much fun listening to this music.
Yeah, this was a great week. I really had a great time.
Speaking of the music, we only play 30-second clips on the show. But if you want to hear more of all this great music from 1993, we put together a Spotify playlist for every episode. There's a link to it in the show notes. And while you're in the show notes, you can check out links to our social media pages and our website at Prisoners of Rock and Roll, and our email at show@prisonersofrockandroll.com. So that's it, man. We'll be back in 2 weeks with some more entertainment and education.
Yeah, man. Keep on rocking. Peace out.
Just a prisoner! I'm rocking!